My first incarnation. In my current reincarnation, I am Moshe, the son of Rivka. This is my 69th reincarnation since I have come to this earth. I was, and still am, on my journey towards my endless destiny. In my first incarnation, and my longest one, I was born on the 1st of Tishrei, in the year 2400 according to the Hebrew calendar, 1360 BC according to the Gregorian calendar. And I left this world at the age of 939 years old on the 9th of Av in the year 3339, 421 BC according to the Gregorian calendar, during the destruction of the first holy temple. I was the son of 2 Hebrew slaves, Rena and Amram. We were all part of the Hebrew slaves who were meant to serve the pharaohs at the time. I was born during the ruling of the last pharaoh in a dynasty that lasted over 1,000 years in Egypt. The pharaohs ruled all of Africa and a few other parts of the world for a very long time. I spent most of my life in the Holy Land, Israel, after leaving with all the Hebrews during the Exodus, also known as the period of the Grand Confusion. I am using the word Hebrews because we were not yet known as Jews. We only became Jews when we were given the Torah, immediately following the event on Mount Sinai when the Hebrews received the Torah. The term Yehudi, which means Jewish in Hebrew, came into being for the first time in the era of the kingdom of Yehuda in the year 3174 according to the Hebrew calendar, which is 586 BC according to the Gregorian calendar. I will elaborate further on this later on. It is important to note that we were all circumcised after birth. The pharaohs, who were also known as the sons of God, or Vatersol in the language of pharaohs, were born circumcised. They symbolized perfection in our eyes, and the pharaoh was a god in the eyes of the nation. The word pharaoh in the pharaonic language actually means the house of the divine. They came from the heavens. The pharaohs came to our world from another star or planet. They were sent here to control and change the earth and its inhabitants. The nation looked at them as the sons of God, also known as Vatersol. Over time, the males of the pharaonic race started having children with the human females of Earth, which is what caused the pharaonic race to lose their spiritual power and pure essence. Their offspring was weakened, and they lost their initial powers, their destiny, and their purpose. Due to the physically rooted and primal influences of the humans on Earth, the pharaohs, also known as the sons of God or Vatersol, lost the intimate connection with their inner soul, which resulted in the demise of their rule over Earth. Due to these inter-race interactions, shortly after the Exodus, or the Great Confusion, the ruling of the Vatersol was no more. They came here with incredible technological knowledge and information that gave them the power to rule and build all over the world. For example, the pyramids. The original Vatersol were aliens who had high energetic powers, physical, spiritual, and healing energies. They were also able to call upon and physically speak with animals and higher powers. Rulers such as the pharaoh and the high priest had the power and knowledge to move between different galaxies with either spaceships or through meditation and power of thought. This knowledge and power became diluted over time and was, for the most part, eventually lost. They operated their spaceships through the use of the energy from the sun, magnets, lasers, and the power of thought. Growing up. As I said earlier, I was the child of a Hebrew slave. At the age of 8 years old, the high priest, Jason in my current reincarnation, took me to the Pharaoh's palace against my will to work under him in the holy temple of the palace, the house of the divine of the Pharaohs. I grew up there and was trained to be the minor priest. Later in my life, after my marriage, I transitioned into the role of high priest in Israel. I will elaborate on this role later. The name of the high priest was Fatah-Hotep. Fatah is God and Hotep is priest. Fatah-Hotep was the younger brother of the pharaoh, Vicky, in my current reincarnation. It truly amazes me that I remember a few words from that time, but I don't remember the language itself. I wonder what the reason for that is and who is responsible for that. My name changed from Menachem, my Hebrew name at the time, to Mano, or more accurately, Mano-Hotep, the minor priest. Mano-Hotep was raised in the royal palace under the high priest in the holy temple of the pharaohs. Mano-Hotep lived in the holy temple from the age of 8 years old to the age of 49 years old. During the time period of the Great Confusion, or the Exodus, in the year 2448, Mano-Hotep took advantage of the opportunity and united with his father, his wife Gama, Mina in my current reincarnation, and the Hebrews, and they fled to the Holy Land, Israel. My life as Mano-Hotep was good, interesting, and full, but I was lonely and sad at the time. I turned from being a Hebrew slave to a minor priest. Later on, my name changed in the Holy Land to Saria, the high priest. I became the high priest in the Holy Temple of Israel with a wide knowledge of the pharaonic era and the secrets and mysticism of the Fatah soul. The high priest, Fatah-Hotep, or Jason, was very fond of me, and contrary to customary tradition at the time, he turned me from a Hebrew slave to a student of his. Even more inconsistent with the customs, Fatah-Hotep trained me to become a priest. The priesthood provided me with an abundance of information and the supernatural powers that I acquired from the high priest, which helped me in my line of work till the day I died in the holy temple. The consecration process, or purification, to become a priest was called baraka in ancient Egypt. The high priest, Fatah-Hotep, or Jason, was a special man with knowledge and power that was supernatural. He was an expert and very knowledgeable about the secrets and mysticism of the pyramids, which was knowledge that could only come from very high places. He possessed this knowledge because he was a pure Fatah soul. He knew the secrets of creation and the secrets of the divine self of each individual. He was very proficient and had a very wide knowledge in technology. He was able to see right through people, X-ray vision, energetically and physically. He liked young children for amusement, and especially little boys, something that was accepted at that time. He used me for his sexual needs, which damaged me internally and emotionally until the day I died. However, I still felt admiration, love, and closeness to him. He did not have children of his own. I, too, chose not to have children. Instead, through my spiritual work, I chose to serve myself and the general public by connecting to the Creator in any way that I could. I was busy doing spiritual work as a spiritual leader for my entire life. I am disappointed that the work I performed was related to religion as well. This was because the work I performed later on in my life was under the control of the new Jewish Hebrew leaders in the land of Israel. Getting back to my childhood, in my first incarnation, I was taken from my parents' home at the age of 8 years old. This caused me a lot of sadness and fears that I had to deal with for a very long time. I succeeded in overcoming them only after I reached the phase of consecration, or barakah. My father, AMRAM, Rabbi A.A. in my current reincarnation, who is the holy Rabbi Eliezer Alfrandi, did everything that he could to be near me. It amazes me that I finally have permission to write his name in full. I was his only son. He hid his identity as a Hebrew slave and advanced into the Pharaoh's palace in a very short period of time. He became very close to the Pharaoh. He gained his trust and became his chief assistant. This provided him and my mother with the ability to be closer to me. My father changed his name from Amram to Amma, and my mother changed her name from Rena to Rona, Rachel, in my current reincarnation. They changed their names in order to hide their true identities as Hebrews. My connection with my mother was never very special nor strong. She died when she was 40 years old, relatively young for those times. From what I can remember, she died, from what I understood, to be sadness. My father died when he was 180 years old. He was born on the 10th of Tishrei in the year 2375 and died on the 5th of Adar in the year 2555, according to the Hebrew calendar. 1385 BC to 1205 BC, according to the Gregorian calendar. However, being an unusual being or entity with secret supernatural powers, he in fact never died. Amram. My father, my guide, and my rabbi, Rabbi A.A., Eliezer Alfrandi in my current reincarnation, came to this world in his first incarnation as the third son of Adam and Eve. His name was Shet. He was born on the 10th of Tishrei in the year 130, 3630 BC, according to the Gregorian calendar, and lived 912 years. He lived several parallel lives as well. Overall, he lived 1,010 reincarnations until January 28th, 2014, the 27th of Shvat, in the year 5774, according to the Hebrew calendar. On that day, he did not reincarnate. Instead, he moved towards his final destiny, and he is currently in the pyramid star. My father, my teacher, and my rabbi was born and reborn, but never died. He simply lived parallel lives and moved between different reincarnations. For example, the reincarnation of Shet of 912 years, the reincarnation of Amram of 180 years, the reincarnation as Rabbi A.A. of 424 years. Some of his reincarnations are somewhat documented in the stories of the Old Testament. He experienced 1,010 reincarnations in 5,644 years, with parallel lives, sometimes experiencing 10 different reincarnations simultaneously. Rabbi AA's last reincarnation was here on earth, which started on the 18th of Tammuz in the year 5350, according to the Hebrew calendar, 1590, according to the Gregorian calendar. He was born in a little village in Iraq, not far from Baghdad, which was called Canif at the time. The holy rabbi left to the pyramid star at the age of 424 years old on January 28th, 2014, according to the Gregorian calendar. He left from the same field in New Jersey that he and I used to fly in and out using different UFOs and their occupants during our work together. He spoke 8 languages fluently. He could also speak with animals and aliens. He knew Sfat Haruach, which is translated from Hebrew as the language of the spirit world. He also knew Aramaic. The fact that Rabbi AA had the knowledge of these languages only offers a mere glimpse at the true power and consciousness that Rabbi AA possessed. Looking back at it, I realized that he was the architect of my life story, and he was also the architect of the history of the Jewish people and probably other nations as well. He is a special soul who was chosen carefully for divine work. He was present in all 69 of my reincarnations, even when I reincarnated as an animal, an alligator, and not a human being. For those who are wondering, yes, I have been part of the reptilian family before. No, I am not part of the reptilian family now. No, I do not have the ability to shapeshift. And yes, I have seen, experienced, and worked with people who have the ability to shapeshift. Ever since my last meeting with Rabbi AA, something happened that brought me to a new level of consciousness. This new level of consciousness and awareness has given me different understandings and insights that help me reflect on my past, including reincarnations that sharpen my memory and cause me to remember different reincarnations in more detail. For example, in one of my reincarnations, I was an eagle ruled by a shamanic Indian in North America. The shamanic Indian is present-day Orly in my current reincarnation. All my other friends, acquaintances, and loved ones from the year 2448, according to the Hebrew calendar, and 1312 BC, according to the Gregorian calendar, were also part of that reincarnation in the form of different animals, such as a snake, Tina, bear, Vicky, hawk, Miriam, black and white wildcat, Tova, horse, Jason, wolf, Rami, female wolf, Shula, buffalo, Rachel, black and white dog, Abraham, and more. All the animals were controlled by the Indian shaman who used animals and plants for treatments and healing. A significant part of the treatment was performed with the use of psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin, for different healing purposes. The shaman's use of psilocybin on humans and animals gave him the spiritual power to control both humans and animals. In order to strengthen himself and his power over man, animal, and beast, he made sure that the psilocybin would be part of their daily diet in very small quantities. He would administer higher quantities of psilocybin when they were sick in order to heal them and even save their lives. The Indian shaman was known as Ram from Métis tribe, who had been wandering around the Canadian and US border for centuries. Ram was a strong, tough, high-blooded, bloodthirsty man with no compassion for those around him. He was also the chief shaman of his tribe and the ruler of the tribe. He ruled his tribe and animals with a strong and powerful hand. It would be interesting to understand why this reincarnation comes back to me again and again.